Alright, people, listen in to Le Ode de Washing Machine. That's what it's like to have a room next to a laundry. This is, yeah, I'm pretty sure these recordings are all fucked, but that's alright. He didn't come for quality, he came for idiocy. Let's continue on. I might also note that I realized I was talking very softly into the microphone for a few of the other chapters, so now I'm a little bit closer. So yeah, adjust your sound, it's going to be louder. Chapter 14, The Umbrella Lady. "You've come a long way, Makey, in such a short time," Kovalik said to me. I sat again around his coffee table with a cup of tea in my hand, like I had almost every night in the past 2 weeks. "To summon your staff on intuition alone is a great feat and a great step in your development. To toxicate a bolt of katra this early on is unheard of." "Well, sure," I said, tapping the mug with a frustrated finger, but I couldn't put it away without help. "And what's toxication?" "Well, what you just described to me," he said. "Toxication is combining another's katra with yours in an act of redirection. For many, this is harder than straight redirection." "Alright, so what's straight redirection then?" I asked. "When you accept a foreign bolt of katra and pass it through your body without letting it touch your thread, usually from one hand to the other." "Well, that sounds useful," I said. "Could you teach it to me?" The ghost paused. "It involves closing off your katra pathways. You haven't opened all of yours yet. I'm not sure you'd be ready to redirect." "Great," I sarcastically chuckled. "I'm only advanced enough to summon burps at my staff. I guess I'll never be qualified for anything as a Seneva." "The burps are a strange side effect which I've never seen before," Kovalik rubbed his smoky chin. "But this isn't the ceiling of your power. You shouldn't fear, Makey. In time, all will come to you if you keep trying." "Well, I've been trying with the armor for days and I'm getting nowhere," I huffed. I crossed my arms and abandoned the tea on the coffee table. "Patience and open mind," Kovalik repeated for the upteenth time this week. "Celeste helped you achieve an open mind. You must have some patience," I groaned. "I'm just so shit," I ranted. "I mean, Natalie can already do swords and hurlers. I wouldn't be surprised if she could redirect too. She apparently already knew that the armor was a soul thing and that Seneva weren't going out in flocks to buy armor from some guy who'd apparently make all the sets." "Your conclusions on things are often humorous," Kovalik chuckled. "You really believe that Seneva bought and put on their armor?" "Well, nobody else told me any different," I glared at the ghost. "Anyway, it's logical enough, right? How did Natalie know the truth?" "Well, she's moving much faster with her powers, James," Kovalik noted. "Her Yamitse would have taught her how to summon it when she was ready. Evidently, this was early on. Natalie is very gifted, and she lives with her teacher. You should not be comparing yourself to her progress." "Well, it's hard not to, isn't it?" I continued raving. "Her and Celeste are so much more powerful than I am. I can't even imagine what would happen if we came across one of those agents Celeste goes on about. How useless could I be?" Kovalik sighed. His ghostly flat eyes rolled in their shells. Smoke ebbed and flowed from his body. "James," he said calmly, holding back, "I don't think you've put everything into perspective here. Celeste is from a Seneva family. She's 16 years old, or so you told me. She had 16 years to work on her katra and her whole family to teach her about it. Natalie comes from a very strong lineage of Seneva, even if this was hidden from her. As you were told by Celeste, Natalie's Yamitse, Lilawel, was at one time the most powerful connected Seneva using katra. You, however, do not come from a Seneva family or lineage. It is only foreseeable that you weren't born with a connection at all, and that you received your thread through a destined hit of black hole radiation." "Hit by a black hole?" I moaned. "Yes, James, that's how it works. If you're not passed down a connection, then you're chosen by the black hole to receive your thread. It is the honor of destiny rather than the gift of genetics. For all you know, you received your connection 2 months ago. You have a massive hurdle of spirituality to overcome to be anywhere near par with Samel and Genevieve. Your progress really is amazing." "Well, fine, Farah Kovalik," I gave up arguing. "If you're so sure about it." "I am," the ghost remarked, "and you should be too, but do not call me that name. The position of Farah is long gone for me. It has been stripped away from me many times by men who wrote slanderous things of my life, and one who ended it." "I'm sorry, Kovalik," I hushed. The ghost bore over me, his presence building in the room. He wafted back, giving me the space to breathe. "It is okay," he said. "Now, we must meditate further. You must continue to open your katra pathways if you are to become a better Seneva. More pathways lead to more ways to connect. Greater connection leads to greater spiritual strength. It was the Saturday night of Christy Nanos' party. Tom, David, Natalie, Celeste and I were in the city, having just finished eating dinner, heading down Swanson Street towards Flinders Street train station. Storm clouds gathered overhead on the humid night. They hung low in the sky and threatened to rain, but had not done so yet. David, in fitting with his retro hyper-hip stylings, was a food lover. His parents were extravagant chefs, and each special occasion, they would take him to enjoy the plethora of food that Melbourne had to offer. Down each alleyway in this city were places serving meals beyond comprehension, packed with insufferable people of equally pretentious opinions. David wasn't pretentious about food, but he liked to make sure that we were well-travelled in our palates. "So, what do we all think of Thai fusion flavours?" David asked excitedly as we trekked through the train station. Christy lived in Brighton, a rich beachside suburb, to where we would catch the train. "Yeah, it's all pretty good, mate," Tom said, "but I don't know, why does it have to be so out there? Couldn't it just be Thai fusion steak and veggies?" Celeste let out a burst of laughter at the remark, then closed her lips. Her cheeks went red. "Ah, so the French girl finds it funny that I'm not a foodie," Tom remarked, giving her a nudge. "Well, it's alright, you go home to your lobster or whatever French people eat. I'll go home to my steak and steamed veggies." "See, Tom, this is why I have to take you out," David said. "If you're going to live, or rather grow up in this city, you've got to get better attuned to its ways. I mean, forget that Penelope doesn't say anything at dinner. What would you say if her parents cooked you some amazing meal and you had no idea what it was?" "Yeah, Tom," I agreed. "Penelope's a fancy private schoolgirl. That's some expensive taste." "Well, her parents have good taste, sure, but she's just as bad as me," he half-smiled. "But about her," he mumbled, going quiet. "Oh, see, you boys and your banter," Natalie softly scorned, throwing her arm around Tom's shoulder. I noticed Celeste in my peripherals. She walked behind the line of us now, hunching down into an unassuming posture. "No, it's all right," Tom said, picking Natalie's arm up and replacing it by his side. He flicked his red hair. "I let her go, you see. I mean, I was discussing this with James and David, but she was just rude when I tried to do nice things for her. I had to let her down over the phone." "Over the phone?" Natalie redirected her scorn to Tom, "and she cried on the other side of it for a whole hour. It was devastating to do, but I had to keep looking back at Mum to realise why I was doing it. You know, family is more important than some good sex." Natalie cringed in disapproval. "Well, I'm glad that you saw that in the end. The fact that you didn't at the beginning, though." "Yeah, well, you live and you learn," Tom said. "I'm proud of you, man," I said to Tom. "You really showed some good character, you know?" "Yeah, right?" He cheered up. "And now I get to be back on the prowl. You wait till you see me tonight, James. Christy hasn't got a boyfriend, has she? Because I forgot to get her a present, and maybe I can make up for it." "Oh, gee," David groaned. A warm hand grabbed my arm. Alarmed, I turned, but my arm was squeezed. "Shh," Celeste whispered into my ear. It was her right hand holding me, with her left on Natalie's. She pulled us closer in, and talked to us in a hushed voice. "Don't be alarmed, and do not look around, but we're being followed." "By who?" I asked. "Do you know how many people are on this street? Nobody is following us." "We're being followed by a Soneva," she reiterated. "I call her the Umbrella Lady." "I thought I felt the presence before," Natalie said, and extended her hands in the peace sign pose by her side, and closed her eyes. Celeste gripped at her arm. "As a gesture marks you out as a Soneva. Never do that if you're being followed," Celeste scorned. "I was the only target, now they might have sights on you too." "Well, so who is it?" I asked, swinging my mass to look around. Celeste let go of Natalie and gripped into my arm with both hands worth of red acrylic nails. I yelped. "I said don't look around." She had seethed. "They're in a large floppy-brimmed hat, with a silver face and a long trench coat. They'll have a silver umbrella in their hand." "Right. Sorry," I apologized. She let go and stepped back, changing her stride into a relaxed stroll. "Now," she continued, "you two go off and distract David and Tom. I'll deal with this." "Are you crazy?" Natalie choked. "No way am I letting you fight them alone. Right, James?" I spluttered and did a double take. "Yeah, right," I wheezed. "Look, Celeste, we said that we'd help you out." "You pretty much made me agree to that." "No," Natalie insisted. "I showed you the power of friendship. We won't let you down. 3 of us is so much better odds, Celeste. We'll get out of this." Celeste huffed and scrunched her brow. "All right," she sighed. "But know what you're getting yourself into. This isn't going to be some walk in the park. This is real danger. I do not know what they'll do if we don't defeat them." "Why do we have to fight?" I asked sheepishly. "I mean, we're not gladiators. This is civilized civilization. We should just call the police if we're being followed. The police won't find her. She's smarter than that, Celeste said, and so she'll attack when we're first alone. If there's a party, so be it. It is too dangerous to have her following us any longer. So, what are some Seneva fighting tactics then? I asked. What should we expect from a fight? Well, the point is to disable her thread and then run away. It is harder than it sounds though. She doesn't have any Quatran abilities, which means that she is very practiced with straight Quatra. Even if you land a hit, she can redirect it. You'll have to catch her off guard to disable her thread. Is there any use in using our abilities then? I asked. This seems like a lot of Quatra stuff. Quatran can distract, subdue, or interfere with your enemy. They're always useful. Okay, so she has to find us alone, Natalie pondered, looking around. Any one of these alleys on this street would do. We just have to distract David and Tom. Celeste's hand lunged for mine. She wrapped her fingers around my golden ring, the one that Grandpa had passed down to Dad, and plunged it into her pocket. My face flushed red with immediate anger. I was about to yell. Celeste poked Tom and David. Hey, James lost his ring, she said. Yes, I seethed, steam blowing from my ears. My golden ring. You know, the one that my dad used to wear. The priceless family ring that I only wear on special occasions and barely take off to eat. I can't believe I've misplaced it. Yes, very clumsy, Celeste agreed. Oh, shit, Tom gasped. Man, that's terrible. When did you last have it? Well, I distinctly remember having it on at the restaurant. And what about when you left? David asked. Well, I'm pretty sure it was on then too. Damn, Tom scrunched his brow. That takes a real tug to get off too, right? You don't say, I eyed Celeste, who feigned her innocence. Natalie, James and I will try and look for it, Celeste said. You boys should go to the party, get it ready for us. Are you sure? David asked. I don't mind being late. No, really, Natalie said. You boys go off, we've got this. Alright, if you say so. Tom raised an eyebrow to me. I was still angry, which was lucky. Celeste had no idea that I couldn't lie. If I wasn't preoccupied with being so enraged, I'd have given us all away. Tell Christy that we're not far off, Natalie smiled. We'll go to the restaurant first and check that out. We turned and walked briskly back the way we'd come. I saw our stalker now. It was easy to spot her large suede hat in the crowd. She livened her pace. Celeste rounded the corner to the alley first, and Natalie and I ducked in after her. Once out of sight of Tom and David, we started sprinting. Wait, guys, Tom called from a distance. You need the next lane. I could hear his footsteps jogging to catch up. He was right. This lane was a dead end. It was a back alley. It had a central gutter paved in bluestones and was flanked by 2 brick buildings, tall all the way to the sky. Backed up to the buildings on either side of the alley were large bins. The alley ran downhill for the length of a shop and ended in a tall concrete wall. We were trapped. Natalie and Celeste ran towards the end. Celeste ducked behind a bin, and Natalie hid behind the opposite one. I flailed into the lane, scrambling on oily asphalt to join Celeste behind the left row of bins. I craned my head under the dumpsters and watched the laneway entrance in anticipation. From the 3 of us, there was only silence. Guys, you've gotta... Tom rounded the corner of the alley. He danced on one foot, then stopped dead. Guys? He hummed, then stepped cautiously into the lane. Celeste's hand nudged my shoulder. I looked up to it to see my ring. I snatched it from my grasp and put it back on. I'm sorry, James, she whispered. I didn't know it was special. Oh, look, it's fine, I said. If you're sure, she said. Without a sound, gleaming red and gunmetal armor flung itself from a thread around her body. I looked across the way to Natalie to see her armor solidifying around her too. It was sky blue, with brilliant silver chest and stomach plates and teal-green accents. Her helmet was sleek, with narrow-ended horns that looped around like a ram's, and a T-shaped slit for the eyes and face. There was no face, however, under the slit, only an orange, swirling void. Her twin swords appeared in her hands too, and I was left wondering how useful I was really going to be tonight. Can you redirect Quatre? Celeste asked me as I summoned my staff. I was once again taken aback by the amazing connection that it afforded me. No, I said. Kuvalik didn't think I was ready to learn. No, Ame, Isa? Afraid not, I said. But I can toxicate Quattro, apparently. That'd be good enough, Celeste sighed. Where the hell did they go? Tom asked himself, trying to peer over the bins and around corners from the alley's entrance. 2 harsh metal footsteps clanged behind him. I ducked under the bin to watch. 2 feet, like 2-toed silver stilettos, strutted into the alleyway. I didn't think that Tom heard them striking the asphalt behind him. Or maybe they didn't go down here at all, he muttered to himself as his feet twisted. He turned himself right into the path of the umbrella lady. She strode through him, unaffected, as he lost his balance and stumbled into the wall of the alley. Jesus Christ, Tom huffed. Watch where you're walking, love. He picked himself off the wall and dusted his sleeves. Oh man, that's a stain. You should leave, the umbrella lady instructed him. This isn't the place for you. I could see the tip of her umbrella resting by her feet, as if it were a cane. She did not turn to talk to him. Under the bin I could see up to her waist, and I could see her hands by her side, analysing the Quattro field with posed palms. Not the place for me, he snarked. Do you know who I am, darling? Do you know who I am? She turned, smacking her umbrella down. Yeah, total bitch, he remarked, telling me where to be. Piss off with that kind of shit. I'm being serious, she warned. I'm not inclined to hurt humans, but this is a dangerous place for you to be right now, without a connection. Connection? He quizzed. Shit, is everyone in the city crazy? God, you're sounding like the crazy blogs my ex reads. I'm not leaving here until I find my friends. I gave you a last warning, the umbrella lady hissed. Her armor cracked, the sounds of clanking muffled by a trench coat. Her hand split down the palm. Then her arms seemed to hiss at their seams, breaking in two. The Velcro on her sleeves ripped apart, revealing her forearms. In the top right one, she held the umbrella. Oh my fucking holy, Tom uttered. He slowly backed away, not daring to take his eyes from the mechanical four-armed lady before him. I'm with you, Tom, I said to myself, my eye twitching in fright. I desperately looked up my thread, between my body and Omicronius, to the reflection of myself hanging there. In my fear, I reached for it, grasped onto it with my soul's hand, and dragged it out of the thread. This time, instead of burping, my armor hissed and crawled over my skin, locking in place. The sound of the plating crawling into position caught the ears of the umbrella lady. She turned down the alleyway. Genevieve leaped from behind the cover to face her. Her sword was drawn by her side, and it burst into a helix of blue flames. Asphalt bubbled and spat under its influence. What the holy fuck? Tom gasped. We'll handle this bitch, Genevieve assured him. She put on a voice to do so, weirdly enough an English accent. Run, she instructed. Tom nodded and ran off around the corner. I examined my new body. I was breathing. I had a heart rate. I could feel the ground under the soles of my bulky silver feet and the wind over my metallic skin. In fact, I could feel the wind at least twice as well as I could with my bare hands. I could feel a richer fullness to everything around me. My senses of my soul connections were vastly enhanced. With the staff in hand, the difference was phenomenal. I thought it odd that I was still breathing, because I couldn't be sure my body was even under this armor. My joints, like other Seneva, were frighteningly thin, but did not feel wrong. I had ungodly long silver hands and a black body with silver-green armor over the top. I was the figure from my weird dream on the night that Dad had died. I was the green and grey Seneva with the large head fin, menacing green eyes and chin blade. I was Mankey. Eva Argol, the umbrella lady addressed Genevieve. She stalked down the alley, her heels clicking elegantly on asphalt. Her voice was seductive, like the mistress in a bad noir movie. You've got quite the bounty on your head. Vestas wants you. So, if you want me, come and get me, Genevieve ordered. You'll be disappointed when I fetch you nothing. Harold knows that I'm not the daughter who left his house. Oh, but there's a bounty for all three of you, the umbrella lady continued. My eyes almost burst out of my helmet. I could see the green light that they cast upon the dumpster's wall. Oh yes, Vestas will pay handsomely for 3 strange Seneva, each with a strange thread. Strange thread, Genevieve quizzed. I have a perfectly fine Seneva. An Eve of a blue flame as hot and bright as yours is something to be considered strange. It would be even stranger if you're not an Argol as you claim. You're worth money to me either way. Your time is up. No, it's not, Zamel yelled, giving away her cover. She stood tall next to Genevieve, her twin swords resting against the ground. Puddles of air conditioner fluid quivered as she asserted herself. Ah, yes, the strangest of the 3, the umbrella lady noted. Do you know that you're leaking Quattro? She asked Zamel, through her helmet and her flowing, insubstantial orange face. Zamel looked shocked. You use the energy so inefficiently that I'd be surprised if you could fire a bolt at all. It works for me. You left a fat orange trail which led me straight to the 3 of you. Eva Argol proves hard to track, but you, hardly. Now, she continued, you can come with me easily, or you can play games. Either way, you're leaving this alley in my arms. Nobody had a witty reply to that. Genevieve just fired a bolt of blue Quattro and the madness started. Pew! The bolt missed, soaring into the street. The umbrella lady raised her umbrella in another hand. She fired 2 indigo bolts. Pew! Pew! One for Zamel and one for Genevieve. Genevieve unleashed a torrent of blue flames to blind the assailant. Zamel leaped back behind cover. Indigo Quattro bolts sailed blindly through a wall of fire. Zamel collected fluid from the alley, preparing an attack. I had a moment to think of what I would do. There has to be something I can do with air, I thought. What did Celeste say? Something about distracting or disorientating? Genevieve and Zamel fired bolts of Quattro from around the corners of their dumpsters. Each bolt that cascaded down the alley was reflected back, just missing the girls' helmets as they peeked around to fire the next. Zamel spun her body and whipped a slew of air conditioner fluid from a rank puddle towards the umbrella lady. Genevieve let another jet blast of flames between the bins. For a moment, there was no action. We could see nothing beyond Genevieve's blue flames. Then, the fire split. The umbrella lady strutted through the onslaught, all the way up to the back of the bins. Genevieve and Zamel backed away. I flailed into the corner of the dumpster on the wall. Heslick's agent smirked. She raised one of her 4 arms to me and fired a bolt. Air streamed from my bulky silver soles and my long, gangly hands. I blasted into the sky, twisting around mid-air, and pounced to at least 4 times a normal human jump. I dug my claws into the wall behind me, like a scared cat. The umbrella lady didn't take her eyes off me as 2 of her hands moved to absorb Genevieve and Zamel's Quattro blasts. Zamel's orange bolt was redirected straight towards me. Genevieve's went to the ground, shot from the remaining hand. I yanked my claws from the wall and pushed myself off with the blast of wind. I soared overhead across the lane to the other wall towards the entrance. She's got 4 arms, which means she can only redirect 2 bolts at once, I noted mentally. I clung into the wall, my fingers wrapped around the brickworks mortar. I was uphill of the action now, and had inadvertently closed Heslick's agent in between the 3 of us. Makey is a master tactician, I smiled beneath my helmet. I leaped from the wall and rolled across the floor to a safe landing. I flung my staff around my body and used it to extend my soul and grasp at the air around me. I threw the air as my torso swung around. A jet of wind blasted towards the battle. A leaf fluttered along the ground. Under my sleek silver helmet, I scrunched my brow. I extended my soul through my staff once more and stabbed it in the direction of battle. A gust of wind rocketed past me and towards one of Genevieve's blue plumes of fire. A leaf moved. A single tendril of flame might have changed direction. The umbrella lady was totally unaffected. Oh, what the hell, I sulked. One of the 4 arms contorted around the umbrella lady's body to face me. Zamel's orange bolt entered the bottom left hand and exited in my direction. I jumped out of the way, blasting air from my feet and staff to land on the left wall. The umbrella lady turned on her side now, to keep everybody in her field of vision, each one of her hands in a peace sign pose. Quattro came in, was redirected through her body, and came out. She redirected a blue bolt from Genevieve towards me. She was just acting as a channel now, to direct our own attacks towards each other. I launched myself across the gap. The Quattro bolt hit the bricks behind me. Boom, 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 boom. Their rings emanated through the surface. The mortar bubbled. I landed uphill on the adjacent wall. I barely had time to comprehend my position before I saw the next blast of Quattro flying my way. I pushed off again, somersaulting through the gap back to the first building. They'll redirect another to me when I land, I thought. Instead of gripping into the building, I bounced straight off and upwards in a flip, firing a bolt as I did so. She did not redirect a bolt at me, though. Rather, the umbrella lady waited to receive my bolt, then turned it to Zamel and fired a bolt of her own onto me. But it wasn't aimed at me. It was aimed at where I was leaping to. Not the wall where I would land. That would be easy. It was aimed in my path of flight. If I kept on my path, I would collide with it, and I would lose my power. My armor would disappear, my fingers would turn to flesh, and I would not be able to grip into the bricks. I would break my fingers trying to grab into the wall, and I would fall from a great height and then break my legs too. I reached the turning point of my arc across the gap, hanging upside down in my flip through the air. I focused on that bolt racing towards me. I could save this still. I didn't have to break my bones today. I extended my staff to the careening streak of energy and outstretched my limbs, slowing my tumble. My heart rate spiked. The bolt crawled towards me in slow motion. I reached for it with my staff as my body flipped over on its path. The bolt slipped through the gap between my staff's prongs, and it soared towards me. It collided with my chest. It was burning hot. My whole armored body was a quattropath. It raced into my veins and ran through them like hot, pressurized gas. I could visualize it moving through my system. I summoned as much quattro as I could manage, and just as the invading energy came to my neck, I flushed it out and threw my staff. The preceding bolt of blue-green, toxicated quattro was not well aimed. I saw it fly on a straight path which would lead to the floor behind the umbrella lady. I finished my somersault, my long fingers digging into the wall. Zamel's whip of dirty water slapped Heslick's agent across her face. Her floppy hat was knocked from her head, and she stumbled back to catch it with one of her arms. She fell into the path of my misplaced bolt. It slammed into her armor right by the thread. She screamed and fell to her knees. Her armor did not shatter and fall off like it did for the Argol man in the alley. Rather, as she fell to her knees, it smoked off her body, rising off her skin like dirty fumes. Her head of blonde hair rolled limply around on her neck, and she fell backwards onto the asphalt. Her eyes were shut. She appeared unconscious. I climbed down the wall and jumped onto the ground. I ran over to the woman. Celeste and Natalie, out of their armor, surrounded her with me. I searched for a button to retract my armor, and amazingly I found it. I willed my armor to go away, and it scurried off my body back to the void between Omicronius and I. I scrambled to my knees and felt for a pulse on the woman's neck. "She's alive, James. Don't waste your time," Celeste said. "But great work on that bolt." "Great work?" I quizzed. "She's unconscious. Is this meant to happen?" "No, but the toxication is strange," Celeste noted. "The body cannot reject its own quattro in the same way that it can reject foreign quattro. When you mix the two together, the foreign one gets absorbed, and the thread stays blocked for longer, and the toxic foreign quattro makes them weak." "Oh, gee," I cringed. I stood to my feet, where I could see the woman's chest inflating and deflating. I could feel the air rushing into her mouth. She wasn't dead. That I was sure of. "But this isn't any regular toxication," Celeste continued. "Let's get out of here before she wakes up. She will not be happy with us." "Why not?" I asked. "She just lost her thread," Natalie said, her eyes wide open. Her hands were held by her side and the peace sign posed, twitching. "How did that happen?" "It's a 1 in a million toxication, I guess," Celeste hummed. "That happens sometimes. The two of you really pulled off that hit, though. Now, quickly, let's get out of here before she wakes." "I can't leave her like this," Natalie defended, standing over the French girl. "She needs medical assistance or something." "No, she'll be fine, trust me," Celeste said. "If we stick around, we will not be." "I'm with Celeste," I squeaked. "Fine," Natalie huffed, looking over the woman's body. She sighed. Celeste and I walked towards the mouth of the alley. Natalie took time to lay the woman down on the ground in the recovery position. She jogged up the hill to meet us, and we slunk towards the train station through the dark and muggy night. Natalie rubbed her golden locket between her finger and her thumb. Tom and David were waiting for the train when we got there. We were just in time to catch it with them.